What's up, everyone? Again, this is Ella, and for today, I'm going to be talking about a very scary topic, which is about the possession of Clarita Villanueva and the story behind the invisible creature that bit her, which immediately led into a vile exorcism in the Philippine history. This is a real thing that happened in Manila, and things are about to get exciting. In 3, 2, 1. In May 1953, a 17-year-old girl named Clarita Villanueva, for short Rita, was apparently bitten and tormented by two demonic entities that only she could see. All initial information in this bizarre event came from just two press releases that hit newspapers worldwide. The story was initially released by the former mayor of Manila, Mr. Arsenio Lacson, had heard that a 17-year-old girl had in Manila City Jail for vagrancy and charges, and claimed for the past 9 days that she was being attacked by invisible creatures that bit her. She described her invisible attackers as a very dark big man with curly hair all over body and a body with an angelic face and a big mustache. On Monday, May 19, was her incarceration. She was brought to his office so he and the chief medical examiner, Mariana Lara, among other observers, talk to her and see the ones from themselves. Within 15 minutes of arriving, Rita started to scream. She was being attacked again, while Mayor Lacson was sitting right next to her. She was laughing as she's like a psychopath, and stated things that someone is fighting her. Lacson was shocked at what appeared to be a human bite marks, but they know she can't do that to herself, especially the one on her neck, and the one was her index finger that appeared while Lacson was holding her hand. His palm was covered from the wound appeared. Lacson later stated to Lara that this was not just a superstitious event. A photo that was run in just a few papers reporting the event appears to have been taken by news of men who was presented by the examination. Rita Villanueva is a person being restrained in the court down by the police, doctors, and nurse. Mayor Lacson was the man with the glasses on. After this case attack, security has been seized. Lacson then planned to ask the Archbishop to perform an exorcism. Recommended. I always thought of this as an invisible thing, but there really is something unknown. Lara agreed. You like Lacson's assessment of the problem as supernatural. The same article claimed Lacson said we never had been examined by specialists. On Tuesday, Clarita was surrounded by 100 medical specialists, nurses, and pressmen. According to Rodolfo Nazareno, in transit, some officials are also present at the gathering, like Dr. Aguirre and Dr. Guco are from the National Center of Mental Health. During the transit, they're all geared up, and again during the session, Rita was saying, "He tells me to do things. I see him often in the morning, noon, and at night." The gear observed the bite-like mark on the right side was like a map. They concluded that instead of being beaten by the invisible attackers, it is really not true. She's just actually suffering from a disorder known as hysteria psychoneurosis, and that was being mistaken for bite marks on her skin, were actually just changes on her skin coloring. Caused by nervousness on her mental state, we also claim that it was brought on by herself because she was desperate to escape from the life she was trapped in. When Villanueva was given a pencil and a paper on this occasion, she bit the paper and also the pencil. One of the doctors said that they could cure Villanueva if they're given enough time. Maria Manlara, chief medical examiner, was present on May 18 and witnessed the attack on Lacson's office and supported to disagree with this assessment of Doctors Dubuco and Aguirre, and quotes that the mark they think that is not true was work of some unearthly being, all of which sums up as much as the matter as this ever spread worldwide by the newspapers. No follow-up ever appeared in the news service. That first story, which is not the same as the story ended. In fact, this incident were expanded in more than once, which has said too much confusion since. A pressman release from the United Press, according to the records, it was the day when Pastor Lester Sumrall and Clarita Villanueva met, the girl stating her hatred towards the pastor and God, and making blasphemous statements. This story went more viral and was reprinted by many times, sometimes in the short-term form and sometimes in reverent names like Bitten by the Devil or The True Story of Villanueva, and the other one is Beaten by the Devils. The troopers sent tales of how Lester Sumrall called on God and Jesus to successfully exorcise demons attacking Rita. And the story begins a keystone in his later ministry. Some were claimed to have been responsible for 150,000 people in the Philippines converting to Catholicism, especially being inspired by this ability to save Villanueva from demons. The book starts with translation of articles from newspapers' narrative to Manila, which she apparently did not get international distribution, and it focuses mainly on the time frames from very early in Villanueva incarceration and just after the story went international. These are the articles supply surprisingly details, such as Clarita Villanueva was under arrest not only as vagrant, but as a prostitute. It stated that most of the examination of Villanueva's medical reoccurred and local priest happened in the range of May 12 to 14. Later, the mayor's presence, as the international account stated, Dr. Mariana Lara is said to be the person who pricked her arm to test her during the attacks, and this happened on May 14. We're also told that the earlier examination, it is noted that the bite marks was wet saliva that made them think it was just Rita's acting. It was a largely insane fury and desperate, but they also described her as a really violent, attacking the statues of the Holy Family in jail and just suddenly acting normal again. From one of the articles then dropped from the 22nd to 28th and 30th of May. So after that time, the International Accounts Conference, later articles describe how a concerned Lester Sumrall visited the jail to try and exorcise the attackers from Villanueva, and how Villanueva was being fully possessed by this being who would then act her in just short article. To try and exorcise the attackers from Villanueva, and while Villanueva was being fully possessed by this being who would then act her in just short article. So how the invisible attackers suddenly react like a demonic possession, and then how Lester Sumrall, through the grace of God and with the Son Jesus, exorcised the demons, safety to Villanueva. The book then reprints notes said to be written by Dr. Mariana Lara, but also in diverting to show how he went from being skeptical of the supernatural to a believer. There was a book of Sumrall himself about how he got involved in dealing with demons and drove them out. He also tells skeptics who announce the attacks to be a hoax that the mysteriously occurred within a day of saying that another suffered horrible bite wounds and the evil regiment from Villanueva. Dr. Lara apparently only self-saying swell. Someone has brought the presence of God to this creature. Blackstone declared that someone who saved the day, and he overflowed gratitude at the end with a list of 7 important facts about demon possession, which drives him to some main premise that Villanueva was possessed by demons. It's hard now to determine just how much of someone's book might be true, assuming the cover photo actually drives him with Villanueva, given that the book's content are largely in conflict with the story that was published internationally, and that they are highly self-centered, and how wonderfully surrounded himself is a very suspicious document over all public interest, and the memory of Villanueva incident faded after 1953. The story did receive a half-page mention in the late 1964 issue of Fate magazine, which mostly sums up the details of the original international news version of the tales, leaving out the actual date and the names of the participants, simply noting the attacks occurred in Manila. And it's a bit interesting. The Fate publication is devoted to a sensual story of this strange and paranormal nature that didn't make more incidents. The stories and articles likely faded describe the actual origin events worth. What is now needed to further clarify this incident, and articles from the Filipino newspapers regarding the events in May 1953. Original articles are not supposed to be printed out, but it was found in Lester Sumrall's book. These articles are likely the key to the incidents that will left to confirm or deny all of what happened to Clarita Villanueva. Are you also intrigued by the story? Comment it down below. Don't forget to subscribe. See ya!